I could, but I don't believe I'll be able to, no, sir.
All right, I'm going to allow you any phone calls you need to make. I'm going to appoint a public defender to represent you at this time.
Tonight, Stanley Zukowski, a respected veterinarian and Ph.D., is in jail in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, charged with the unthinkable crime of trying to murder his 5 young children, ages 5 to 11, by giving them an animal tranquilizer called xylazine. The woman who has rented him a room in her home in Mercerville, New Jersey, for the past 3 weeks finds it almost impossible to believe.
Yes, he seemed very proud of his kids. And I asked him if he bought him a lot of Christmas presents or just one. And he said, no, just one each.
Police say Zukowski left here and flew down to Baton Rouge a few days ago to visit the 5 young children he had lost in a bitter custody battle back in June of 1991. But they say despondent over having to leave the children, he decided to give them each 2 doses of the potentially lethal drug. And police say when the mother came to the hotel to pick up the children, Zukowski told her that if he couldn't have custody of all 5 children, he'd kill them and then kill himself. But when arrested at the airport about 45 minutes later, Zukowski reportedly had a change of heart and told police what he had done and what drug he'd used. It was that information, police say, that told doctors what to do to save all 5 children's lives. A tour of Zukowski's room this afternoon showed several signs of the emotional struggle he'd apparently been going through. In addition to 2 rifles, which friends say were probably used just for hunting, there were also books like this one called Fresh Start, How to Let Go of Emotional Baggage and Enjoy Life Again. But at the American Cyanamid Company near Princeton, where Zukowski had worked as a biologist in agricultural research since moving from Baton Rouge, a spokesman said there was never a clue.
No indication that he had family problems.
He was a man that didn't show any sign of violence or temper or anything. That's why I felt comfortable with him being in our house.
Now, in administering this tranquilizer, we are told that Zukowski actually injected it into one of his children. He gave it to the other 4 children orally. That one child who was injected was initially in critical condition. He has now been upgraded to stable, which means all 5 children are now in stable condition. But as you heard, as for Zukowski, he is still in Louisiana being held on $1 million bond. In Mercerville, I'm Ren Scott reporting live. Let's go back to New York City.
Ren, the FBI is now looking into the case of a black Brooklyn man who was set on fire by 3 white men in Florida. 31-year-old Christopher Wilson is hospitalized with 2nd and 3rd degree burns all over his body. Police say Wilson was abducted New Year's Day as he purchased a newspaper at a Tampa mall. He was in town visiting a friend. Authorities say the men took Wilson to a wooded area, robbed him, doused him with gasoline, then set him on fire. And the police say there are some disturbing racial overtones to this case.
Apparently there were racial comments that were made. It does have racial overtones, but at this point we are categorizing it as attempted murder, a kidnapping, and a robbery.
Wilson, who reportedly works on Wall Street, is in serious but stable condition. He's scheduled to undergo a skin graft tomorrow.
Today, Mayor Dinkins unveiled his wish list for '93, the things he'd like to do to improve life in New York City. But as Channel 2's Marcia Kramer reports, the mayor's State of the City address also said a lot about his personal ambitions.
It was an audience packed with his friends and supporters, his deputy mayors and members of his cabinet. So it was no surprise that David Dinkins got a standing ovation when he made a statement that sounded awfully close to an official announcement that he was seeking another term.
Today I stand before all of you, my friends and my colleagues, ready to share again the dreams that only New Yorkers can know. The dream of Manhattan's towers and the bravery of firefighters, the dream of homeowners and barrio dwellers, the dream of a maid son from Harlem who became mayor of this greatest house ever built.
There was no doom and gloom in the mayor's annual State of the City speech this year, even though the city faces a budget gap of over $1 billion and an unexpected tax shortfall brought about by declining real estate values. No, this was the unofficial first salvo of his re-election campaign, and so the talk was of the upbeat things he plans to accomplish, things that make voters happy. Like exempting 28,000 small businesses from the commercial rent tax and easing up on street cleaning enforcement for small businesses so they'll get about 46,000 fewer summonses. Like spending $280 million to house the homeless, $15 million to keep the libraries open 6 days a week instead of 5, and offering $100,000 grants to the 25 business improvement districts to start child care centers for their employees. Like promising to make recruitment of minority cops a priority and pledging to give city residents 5 extra points on the police exam.
We want a nexus. We want a connection between our police officers and the city.
Dinkins' speech was interrupted by applause over 50 times. One who wasn't applauding, though, was his likely Republican opponent, Rudolph Giuliani.
I see it really as a disappointment because the city faces so many substantial problems, and the mayor gave a long speech touching on really just marginal issues.
Instead of attacking the mayor, Dinkins' likely Democratic opponent, Andrew Stein, did something to give Dinkins even greater worry. He met with the Reverend Al Sharpton and a group of 20 black ministers in Brooklyn, giving rise to all kinds of speculation.
Al Sharpton is a real factor in New York City. He showed that in the Senate race, and while I disagree with him on a lot of issues, I also recognize that he is a presence in our city.
Well, the Stein-Sharpton meeting was not the only political event today. Former Mayor Ed Koch said he's throwing his support behind Herman Medeo for mayor. And Brooklyn State Senator Donald Halpern told Channel 2 he plans to run for the city council president's job, joining a long list of people who want that post.
Don't some people view former Mayor Koch's move as backing Harold Stassen for the presidency?
I guess so, but, you know, it makes him a player in the race.
There's a new strike deadline for some 30,000 New York City office cleaners, elevator operators, and janitors. The service workers had set a deadline at midnight last night for a new contract, but agreed to keep negotiating until 7 o'clock Wednesday morning. If they had gone on strike today, workers in Manhattan's 900 biggest office buildings, including Rockefeller Center and the World Trade Center, would have had to bag their own trash.
President Bush is back home in Washington tonight after wrapping up his final scheduled foreign trip. He returned last night after a New Year's Day visit to U.S. troops in Somalia and a meeting with Russian President Boris Yeltsin yesterday to sign a historic treaty reducing nuclear arms by 2/3 over the next 10 years. President Bush then flew on to Paris to meet with France's president. Mr. Bush said his 19,000-mile trip highlights what he sees as the key achievements of his presidency, using military force to help the needy and lessening the threat of nuclear war.
We have much, much more ahead for you this evening. Coming up, the latest twist in the search for a missing 10-year-old Long Island girl.
Also, another Amy Fisher bombshell, an X-rated home video of the so-called Long Island Lolita. And we'll have the week's weather from Storm Field. Storm.
Well, it looks like the beginning of 93 is going to be the same as the end of 92. Very warm and some wet weather heading our way. Tell you all about it.
Channel 2 News sponsored by the Home Savings Bank of America.
New York. It's a city not just of people, but of traditions that preserve the past and enrich the present. At Home Savings of America, the nation's largest savings bank, we have a tradition of conservative investing that's made people like you feel secure for more than 100 years. Home Savings of America.
A raindrop may reach the 1993 Lexus LS400. Getting inside is another matter.
He was on the show for one reason.
He said, why hire somebody to kill you?
But he was really on so his daughter could confront him.
He sexually molested me.
Watch what happens when Geraldo sets the trap.
Did you molest your daughter?
No.
You did everything you have been charged with. You admit it. Geraldo has the papers.
Family murder? Family molestation?
It's on Geraldo.
Tomorrow at 4 on Channel 2.
There is one true constant here, and that is the beauty of this land is only matched by the grace of those who call it home. Come, experience the majesty and warmth of Western Canada, the Yukon and Alaska, with Holland America West Tours.
The Winter Sale. 20 to 50% off regular prices for men and women at Barney's, New York.
Still this evening, police in Long Island stepping up their search for 10-year-old Katie Beers. They're centering their efforts now around Nesconset, where the little girl was reportedly last seen a week ago today. Correspondent John Slattery is in Nesconset with the latest in this case. John?
Jim, for the last 2 hours, Suffolk County Police have been at this Nesconset intersection where it's believed the girl may have last been. They've been stopping motorists and showing photographs of the little girl and asking if anybody might have seen her a week ago today. It's their best way at this time to try to locate the girl. The man who claims to be a psychic who's injected himself into this case is still on the job, out feeling the vibes this afternoon.
She's being held. She's tied up. There were 2 males involved. She's being held in what seems like a cellar.
John Monte says he found a bloody pocket knife near the phone booth where police believe the girl's last frantic call originated. But the cops have totally discounted the knife as having anything to do with the case. For a full week now, police have searched the empty lots around Nesconset Highway looking for some trace of Katie Beers, who turned 10 last Wednesday. The investigation hasn't turned up the missing girl, but it has prompted questions about family members and people close to them. The latest development is the arrest this weekend of Katie's 16-year-old brother, John, who was charged with punching his mother in the face. He was released on $25 bail. Family friend Sal Ingaleri says he's not surprised by the violence in that family.
No, didn't.
Tensions that high in the house?
Oh, yes. Yeah, tension's very high.
Ingaleri himself has been questioned about Katie's disappearance. While Katie is the daughter of Marilyn Beers of Mastic, the girl, for the most part, grew up in the Ingaleri home. Sal's wife, Linda, is Katie's godmother. Today, Sal told us what he told police.
I gave my whereabouts. They checked it out. As far as I know, I'm not a suspect or anything like that.
One reason Ingaleri was questioned is because in October he was arrested on charges of first-degree sexual abuse of a minor. He goes to court next month and is currently out on his own recognizance. Police have also questioned another family friend, 43-year-old John Esposito. Esposito once pleaded guilty to unlawful imprisonment of a minor, which is a misdemeanor. Katie Beers was last seen with him at this arcade in Nesconset a week ago today. The reason that the police are at this particular intersection at this hour of the day is because it was a week ago today when a phone call was placed from those 2 phone booths behind me. A call that was placed and an answering machine took a message. That recording has been gone over by the FBI in an effort to determine whether or not the call was placed by a person herself or if it was a pre-recorded message. No word yet on the results of that testing. This is John Slattery reporting live from Nesconset. That's it, Jim.
John, any officers expressing unofficially or not for the record doubt about the fact whether she was kidnapped or not?
No, what we're hearing officially and unofficially is that they believe at this point that she is alive. They don't have any idea as to where she is. They've questioned a couple of people whom they believe are possibly prime suspects, but they're really at a loss as to where the girl might be.
John, thank you.
Opening arguments are underway in a New Jersey courtroom to decide if a young man should get the death penalty for killing his parents. 22-year-old Matthew Heikkila was convicted last month. Today, he took back his threat to dismiss his attorney and represent himself and said he won't sabotage his own defense. His attorney says Heikkila killed his parents in January of 1991 because he hated them, but emotional stress at the time prevented him from knowing right from wrong.
New Jersey fire officials now know what caused a shopping mall fire just before Christmas. The fire at the Moorestown Mall gutted 5 stores, caused major structural damage to the entire mall. Investigators say an electrical failure in a window display at the Herman's Sporting Goods store caused the fire. A week earlier, an inspection turned up 11 fire code violations in the mall, including inventory stacked too high and poorly lit exit signs. Herman's was fined $900.
And still to come tonight, we'll have this on one of the most dangerous streets in the city.
What to do about the city's most dangerous intersections. This is Dana Tyler. The story coming up.
And later on, New York Rangers make New Year's news by making a change at the top. That story when we continue.
What company has people who can help you find an ideal spot for your business? Who can help you design your plant? Who can show you how you can reduce your operating costs? What company even has people who can help you cut through red tape? What company? Con Edison. If you're starting, expanding, or relocating a business in New York City or Westchester, call Con Edison and we'll go to work for you, because New York means business.
Everyone's talking about better tasting cereal, but who's doing something? Oatmeal crisp with apples, that's who. Now here's a new idea. Crispy pieces of real apples, skin and all. Looky here, a touch of cinnamon. Big flakes of oatmeal and brown sugar. How do you like them apples? Now, here's the deal. You gonna think about oatmeal crisp with apples or try it? Call 1-800-OFFER-93. I'll send you a $1 coupon to try new oatmeal crisp with apples. Go on, we can beat the taste deficit.
Tonight on the CBS Evening News here on Channel 2, society tells adults that thin is in, but you might be shocked to learn the tormenting effect that message can have on young girls. More following Channel 2 News.
This is the family car with no price increase for 1993. Chevy Lumina. Now just $219 a month for 48 months with only $925 down with a GMAC Smart Lease. Real room for 6. Just $219 a month for 48 months and $925 down. A V6 engine. Just $219 a month for 48 months and $925 down. Air conditioning and automatic transmission. All just $219 a month for 48 months and $925 down. No price increase and only $219 a month. What else would you expect from your local Chevy Geo dealer?
If you're looking for rates as low as this and quick approval on a home equity credit line account, listen to Bud Bash.
When you need a second mortgage, there's only one phrase you need to hear.
Mr. Anderson, your loan was approved.
Call the Personal Mortgage Corporation at 1-800-DIAL-PMC. No weeks of waiting, no application fees. You'll get an answer in 24 hours. Don't worry if others have turned you down. Call 1-800-DIAL-PMC. Personal Mortgage Corporation. When it comes to second mortgages, we approve.
To the weather now. It was a beautiful day today, much better than the weather I had in Los Angeles last week. Oh, it was so cold.
What was so cold?
Needed an umbrella for the baby.
Okay, go ahead.
Hello.
You know, you're lucky that you're not there now. They're looking at a major storm moving on shore in Los Angeles. For us, at the moment, can you believe that it is January? Hard to. 60 degrees right now in the city, 50s throughout much of the region, a little bit cooler as you move out towards Bridgeport, but for the most part, we are looking at some very mild weather, spring-like, in fact. Look at this massive clouds in here. You've got a flow going right up the eastern seaboard. Very warm air coming our way with all the sunshine we had today. High today of 63 degrees, 3 shy of the old record set back in 1950 of 66. It has been the warmest winter on record since 1895, which is almost 100 years. Right in here, frontal line making its way to us. That will usher in more clouds tonight. Rain overnight, beginning around 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, continuing through the morning hours into the afternoon before drying out, and we get some more clear skies on Wednesday into Thursday. Right now, the forecast is looking like this. Continued very mild weather. Remember, normally this time of year, the high for the day is 38 degrees, and the low should be into the 20s. We are looking at lows tonight in the 40s, and tomorrow, again, well up into the mid-50s range. So, the 5-day forecast as I disappear. Right now, looking for a high of in the mid-50s tomorrow with some rain. Could be heavy rain at times and a possibility of some localized street flooding. Then cooling down a bit, but cooling down a bit comparatively. It's still going to be much warmer than normal right on through the end of this week.
Okay, thanks, John.
Welcome.
Up next this evening, a deadly accident raises new concerns over the safety of some of New York City's streets.
Plus, we'll have the latest chapter in the Amy Fisher story, a new naughty videotape, when we come right back.
Machines for every muscle, every angle, every curve. Make your resolution a reality. Only $24 a month at Bally's. Call 1-800-WORKOUT.
In Somalia and other African countries, another young life is lost every 60 seconds, all for the lack of a few pounds of basic food. Join Save the Children's emergency phone lift. Call now with your credit card and we'll immediately start turning your compassion into life-giving food. Only $24 will feed 12 children for an entire month. $48 can mean the difference between life an agonizing death for 24 girls and boys. It will only take a minute, but you'll never make a call that can do so much good so quickly for helpless young famine victims. Please, don't turn away from them. Call now and change the faces of starvation into the beginning of hope.
If you drive a stick shift, you probably make over 70,000 shifts a year. Sooner or later, you'll experience some kind of problem. Will it be a big problem or a small one? It takes a trained technician to know. At AMCO Centers, they've serviced enough stick shifts to distinguish between the two. Half the sticks they service only need clutch work, not a new transmission. Next time you throw a shift that doesn't feel just right, come to AMCO. Don't play games with your transmission. AMCO, AA, MCO.
Once they were strictly along for the ride. Now they're in command. Meet the bold new breed of Star Trek women on the next Entertainment Tonight. Tonight at 7:30.
She may be in jail, but Amy Fisher is still not out of sight or mind. A new videotape is putting the troubled Long Island teenager back in the spotlight again. It shows Fisher talking to the camera while striking some steamy poses. The tape was obtained by hard copy. The tabloid TV show says Fisher made the tape in the bedroom of her Long Island home less than a month before she shot Mary Jo Buttafuoco. The Buttafuocos talked about the shooting on CBS This Morning.
You see that big hole? That is the bullet that Amy Fisher put into Mary Jo's head. So I don't want to hear all these people so sympathizing with Amy Fisher. She's a tramp, a slut, a prostitute, an attempted murderer.
You can see more of that new Amy Fisher videotape tonight on hard copy at 7 p.m. right here on Channel 2. Jim?
A Queens community is demanding that something be done about a dangerous, even deadly stretch of roadway. The cries for action come after the deaths of a Queen family killed in a tragic holiday traffic accident. Correspondent Dana Tyler reports.
A Queens community mourns tonight after Aaron Mirzayev, his wife Mira, and their teenage daughter Alla were struck and killed New Year's night while crossing Queens Boulevard, one of the city's most dangerous thoroughfares. The driver, Carlisle Thompson, who police say was drunk and speeding, faces up to 7 years in jail if convicted. The tragedy has outraged many, including Queens Councilwoman Karen Koslowitz. She's lived here 32 years and says safety upgrades on the road are a long time coming. She calls it an expressway, not a boulevard.
A young mother with a baby. The light, in 10 seconds, the don't walk came on. She was running across Queens Boulevard. We have a lot of senior citizens, and they certainly couldn't get across that quickly.
The family Friday was not in a crosswalk. Koslowitz says pedestrians have too few choices.
The first priority that we need are more traffic lights so people don't have to walk 3 blocks to get across the street. And if you have more traffic lights, you cut down on the speeding cars.
Koslowitz also wants more signage on Queens Boulevard. She says there are few, if any, speed limit signs on the roadway. Police say the driver in Friday's fatal accident was going 44 miles an hour in a 30-mile-an-hour zone. The Transportation Commissioner says his department is adding more signs, cameras to catch drivers going through red lights, and concrete barriers on high-risk roads. The numbers show some progress. On Queens Boulevard in 1991, there were 13 traffic fatalities. 11 were pedestrians. Last year, down to 9 fatalities. 5 of them were pedestrians. Lucius Riccio says his department will do its part, but drivers and pedestrians have responsibilities too.
Even though it's the bad drivers who are causing most of these accidents, if pedestrians are aware of the dangers and stay on the sidewalk rather than jaywalking, we believe we can save dozens, if not hundreds of lives a year.
In Queens, Dana Tyler, Channel 2 News.
Still ahead, the Rangers start the new year with a new head coach.
Lee Zeidman has that in all the sports, including a wrap-up of yesterday's dramatic NFC playoff games in just a minute. Exciting world of sports. Lee Zeidman, exciting underlined.
Busy. After 4 years behind the Rangers bench, the Nielsen ratings hit rock bottom today. Coach of the Year candidate last year, Roger Nielsen, got the pink slip today. Rangers management promotes from within. Ron Smith moves from Binghamton to Broadway.
This is a year that we've got very high expectations. We've got a team that has quite a number of high-level, talented players, and we just can't allow this season to slip past us.
Well, I think coaching consists of three things, and one is understanding the game, one is how to teach it, but most importantly is dealing with people and finding out who needs a tender, loving care and who needs a little kick, you know where.
These players, as a group, they're going to find out that times are going to get a little tougher around here. It's time to start getting the job done on the ice that they're capable of doing, and I think Ron Smith will push them in that fashion.
Ron Smith takes over a third-place club riding a 3-game losing streak, and the Blue Shirts face a big match with the New Jersey Devils tonight. We'll see who gets kicked where. Highlights at 11. Well, Buffalo is still celebrating the greatest comeback in NFL history, but the bizarre part about Sunday's remarkable rally, it was an encore performance for Bills' backup quarterback Frank Reich. Subbing for the injured Jim Kelly, Reich engineered an insane string of scores. Trailing by 32 points at halftime Sunday, Reich teamed up with Andre Reed for 3 touchdowns, including that 26-yarder that tightened the score to 35-24 late in the third quarter. 35. Houston forced sudden death, but Steve Christie sent Buffalo into a frenzy, nailing this 32-yarder to cap the greatest comeback, 41-38. But it's all old hat for Frank Reich. You see, back in 1984, Reich came off the bench in the second half with Miami leading Maryland 31-0. Reich in both collegiate and NFL history. Everybody's talking up the Bills, but the Eagles pulled a similar stunt on the road in New Orleans. The Saints, who've never won a playoff game, blew a 13-point lead to keep their record perfect. Now, the Saints led 20-10 in the fourth quarter when Randall. The Saints are just jinxed.
Maybe it's the voodoo curse of Louisiana, and maybe we need to go see a witch doctor to remove that curse. You know, it's been 3 years that we've gotten into the playoffs, and we haven't been able to win at our first game.
Eagles at Dallas Sunday, and Buffalo goes to Pittsburgh on